Quickly, come on.
Wait.
You get your act together, boys, for f***'s sake. Come on, you get out the way.
Marco's Latin temper is notorious, but his reputation for being difficult has made good copy for the newspapers and for Marco's scrapbook.
Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so.
When you make a sauce, is that it once you've done the recipe, or do you, like other things, move on and progress with it?
Depends whether you can improve on the sauce.
With this particular one, have you made changes to it since you started doing it?
No?
Lloyd's coming in for lunch. Does he eat at Harvey's a lot?
Yes.
You've become quite friendly with him, haven't you?
Yes.
There's nothing like monosyllabic answers, is there?
No.
There's no point in doing this, Marco.
Well, fine, you can go.
Then there's no...
The door's over there.
No, but if you're not going to cooperate,
You know, all I've got to do is
make...
all I've got to do is make the sauce.
Yeah, but how...
That is what I'm being paid for.
Yeah.
Not being paid for anything else, to make the sauce.
But I was engaging you in something so that
Sorry, I
we
didn't want
can
to cut. I
actually...
didn't want to cut myself.
But you can listen and you can cooperate. There's just
No, I
not
can't.
much point in doing
I can't.
it.
I'm sorry.
I understand your grammar and I understand your
If you wish me
needs
to
in a
cut
kitchen.
myself on screen, then I don't mind. I'll do it for you. I'll do what is ever expected of me to do.
Okay, well, just
If you want me
carry
to chop
on.
the chicken, I'll chop the chicken. If you want me to chop the mushrooms, I'll chop the mushrooms. If you want me to make the sauce, I'll make the sauce.
Okay, okay.
But don't
just
expect
carry
me
on.
to sell my heart. Never accept that.
Rebel, rebel,
He's very, very difficult, Marco. He is so bloody unpredictable. He can phone me in the morning and scream and shout down the phone, this isn't good enough, that isn't good enough. What are you going to do about it? And slam the phone down on me. And he'd phone back up 10 minutes later and said, how are you, darling? Well, you know, it's great, really. It's one big game. Oh!
Catty's in the Old Kent Road is Marco's main fish supplier. It's run by two ex-chefs who've had to get used to the Jekyll and Hyde antics of this two-star chef.
Any scotch? Yeah.
The thing about Marco is, you know, he's two different guys. If you've got the serious Marco, you've got a problem. If you've got the other Marco, then, you know, you can have a good time with him. He's good fun.
A difficult guy to work with, though.
Impossible, I would say. I mean, obviously, you've got to be a very special person to work alongside someone like that. Someone who's very eager to learn and willing to take Marco's tantrums. I couldn't. Yeah.
Beautiful turbot. Beautiful fish. Where are they from? South Coast?
Yeah, yeah. Cornish fish.
Those dovers you sent me yesterday were nice, by the way.
Thank you very much.
For turning them over.
No, for giving me a compliment. These are probably a little bit too fresh.
Sebastian, you got some really nice fish this morning.
It's always like this.
No, it's not when I get it. That tuna's beautiful, isn't it? I've never seen one before, you know that?
I'm surprised you haven't used it.
Fat content's not high enough. When you buy your fish, you've got to make sure that they are very firm, that they've got a good, clean slime on them. The brill is very similar to a turbot. I mean, it's a flat fish, it's broad and it's very thick. So when filleting, start there. There we go. Just open it up from the tail.
As you said, it's similar to a turbot, but much, much cheaper, isn't it?
Well, this morning, when we were down at the fish market, or down at Cutter's, the turbot was £9 a pound, and the brill was £4.50, £4 a pound.
So half the price.
So you can see I'm just sliding my knife under. And another thing you've got to look for when buying fish is to make sure the fish is not bruised underneath.
How would it look if it were bruised?
It'd be red, it'd be bruised. And that basically means that the fish hasn't been bled properly.
So many people get fish wrong when they cook it. What are the rules?
That's because they don't have the understanding which is required. You've got to understand what fish is. I mean, every fish has got a different texture. And, I mean, you can take a piece of red mullet and a piece of turbot, exactly the same size, and one will be cooked before the other. So you've got to have an understanding of what you're actually using. But the thing which a person must remember when it comes to cooking fish is that 15 seconds is a lifetime. That's all they've got to really understand.
Marco, what is your lunch menu for today?
We have the ravioli de riz de veau, ravioli of sweet bread,
Ravioli sweet bread, yeah.
with the foie gras and the jus de
Foie gras,
truffe.
jus de truffe, yeah.
And then we have the oysters francis.
Oyster français, okay.
And then we have the rhum d'agneau rôti,
Roast of lamb, yeah.
pommes puree, fumitam,
And for the dessert, what you do?
soufflé pommes.
You know that Keith Floyd is coming for lunch, huh?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Give him table 5.
Okay, Marco, no
With
problem.
champagne with my compliments on arrival. So what we're going to cook for you now, Keith, for your lunch is roast chump of lamb, which is basically the whole rump of the lamb. I mean, at home, most people would get it by eating chops from the butchers, and then just grill them or pan fry them. But we're going to remove the bone from underneath, so we've got a whole baby joint of lamb. And then we're going to roast it with garlic and thyme, so with just simple mashed potatoes.
Brilliant.
So we've got our potatoes which have been poached. Put them into the rowboat. Rowboat them down. Now just, to begin with, just the actual potatoes. Put them down so they're nice. You can see.
Yummy, yummy. Perfect mashed potato is one of the most difficult things to find anywhere on a menu, you know.
Some of those simple things a lot of people get wrong. And then we had our butter which has been softened, so there's no loss of heat really. There isn't that. Make it nice and smooth.
Is this the same puree that I have with my pig's trotters when I come?
Absolutely.
Oh, right, good.
And then we have the milk.
It's almost like a very thick custard, isn't it?
Mind blown.
It's also quite tasty.
My memory of Marco is when he puts his fist in and stuffs it in his mouth.
Well, so
He
you
only
should.
used a finger today.
It's fair to point out that those that write to complain about this, we're only doing it because it's us. I mean, if we were serving it to the human beings out there, we'd all be wearing those little plastic gloves, wouldn't we? like we do on television cookery programs, in one sequence, and then forget them for the next. Anton.
Basically what we've got to do is get that large piece of meat off the bone.
Sharp knives and a knowledge of the sort of beast's anatomy are essential skills for a cook, aren't they?
Well, it's understanding where the bones are. As I cut into one. And then what we do is take another knife. Along that like that. Take off the skin.
You mentioned pig's trotter, having eaten that here, Keith, but what else do you like eating when you're at Harvey's?
Oh, the grilled scallops and foie gras is a light little snack which I quite enjoy. Oysters. What else do I eat? I'm a very boring...
Pots of caviar.
Pots of caviar. That's my favourite thing. Pots of caviar and iced vodka sitting on the dustbin, watching Marco up the wall serving about 70 people. It's really good fun. But I'm a very ordinary eater. I mean, just a kilo of truffles and a pig's trotter, and I'm anybody's really, you know.
When you go out to eat, do people sort of bring out the candelabra and try and impress you?
Yes, they do, which is very kind of them and very gracious of them. The biggest difficulty I have is they try to overfeed me. I mean, we don't eat a lot, do we? And they seem anxious to make up for in quantity as an act of generosity, which I can't always cope with. And I remember in a starred Michelin restaurant in France, they kept, after we'd been filming, they kept giving these wonderful plate after wonderful plate, and I had my barber hanging over the back of my chair, and I was filling up the pockets with truffles and foie gras and stuff like that, and fillets of roach and perch and things. And as we came to the end, I put my coat on, I wanted to blow my nose, pulled my handkerchief out, and the whole lot spewed all over the floor in front of the chef. I felt so awful. I must say, it's really funny being on your programme and not mine. I keep wanting to interfere, and I've been very good.
Let's get the pan out. Beautiful cut of meat there.
It's superb.
I mean,
I've really learned, it's not often I necessarily learn a lot when I visit other people's kitchens, but I'm most impressed with that. I love the way you've boned it out. And it does give you a superb piece of meat. And it's not the most expensive cut in the world either.
Those £2.
Yeah.
How'd you like yours cooked?
Pink, please.
Bit of a silly question, but I thought I'd ask. Didn't want you to put it in your pocket. So you can see it's starting to caramelise.
Yes, splendid, splendid.
Stephen, can I have a butter paper, please? Yeah.
Why on the butter paper, please?
Just protects the meat.
Uh-huh.
Stops it from scorching and drying out. Well, in the oven. That's it.
A drop of water, my dear.
So now when the lamb's cooked, we wrap it in cling film and rest it for about 5-10 minutes.
This also preserves any juices that may
It keeps
come out
all the
of it.
juices. I mean, when you cook that piece of meat, the meat's still grey there.
Yeah.
But with the cling film, it sucks all the blood from the centre evenly all the way through.
It's quite interesting that people who wonder why they wait a long time in good restaurants, seeing little preparations like this, it should help them to understand that it isn't just ripped out of a deep freeze, thrown into a microwave and tipped onto a plate.
You've run a lot of restaurants in your time, so you're quite sympathetic to all the things that can go wrong.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's the restaurant business and cooking is a pretty expensive sort of disease. Yeah. It's a drug. And after about 13 different establishments, I vowed never again. I got this wonderful job on telly, don't have to see customers ever again. What did I do? 5 years later, opened a pub, which is silly, but on the other hand, it's a nice break from the otherwise sort of semi-globe-trotting, luxurious life that I'm fortunate enough to lead. And when I get back to the pub, it's all very ordinary. If the bass is good, they say nothing. If it isn't very good, they complain like stuck pigs. It's quite reassuring, really.
So now they've rested, we'll just puncture that. Get those juices. Not much, is there?
No, but it's what's left
It's
in
rested. It's better on the plate than in the bin.
It is absolutely splendid.
Some more crispy tone. See, the pommes puree really acts as a sauce. It's so wet. Yep.
Feed onto the trough. Thank you. Thank you. You know, sometimes if I have a mousseline, a potato, or a puree potato like this, I could forget the meat even, you know? It's just so good. All it needs, I mean, this is, I know is good because we taste some in the kitchen, but the meat juices around that.
No, delicious.
Really good for your tummy, good for your morale. Bits of garlic. Wonderful.
I mean, if you look at various menus all over the country, you sort of see these outrageous combinations. And they just don't work, but people are being clever for the sake of being clever. I mean, lamb, garlic and thyme and rosemary or whatever, it's a great marriage.
Dame of dawn, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The dawn of man, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pommes puree with meat is delicious.
Yeah. Yeah. What I've enjoyed particularly about it today, although it's been good fun, and good fun doesn't make any sense unless you learn something. If there's no information in having a good time, it's not worth it. But I've learned two really interesting things. One is how to butcher this piece of meat, which I'd never thought about and never knew how to do. And secondly, the business of wrapping it up in the cling wrap to let it rest and to maximise on the juices from it, which I thank you. In fact, I'm unashamedly going to put this dish on, or a close approximation of it. You know what I tell people on my programme about this time? I say, oh, and you can taste it and say whatever you like, but if you don't say the right thing, we're going to edit you out. But I'm not faking this at all. I mean, it is absolutely splendid. And so, exquisitely simple. Do you like it? You happy with it? I think we should get rid of the film crew and just let ourselves enjoy ourselves, you know? They're such an intrusion, aren't they, to us?
I've been doing that for the last 6 weeks.
At the same time next week, there's the first of 2 new cookery programmes, The Real McCoy.